So I'm going to talk a little bit about voluntary work through social media. And I've been doing that for the last 3 to 4 years, documenting voluntary work around the world for NGOs, voluntary organizations. And I can start by telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Irene, as I just said. I'm a 20-year-old Norwegian, and I work as a social media influencer, consultant, and content producer. So I create content for social media, brands, and whoever wants content in general. I have more than 250,000 followers on different social media platforms, such as Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok even, which is the new big thing. And I've been a lot involved in the music industry, food industry, and last but not least, voluntary organizations, also known as NGOs. For today's agenda, I'm going to start with the introduction that I just had. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experience with voluntary work and give some tips and tricks on that, what to expect and so on. Then I'm going to talk about how to use social media to contribute and fund voluntary work. And then voluntary work during the pandemic, which is quite relevant considering the situation we're all in around the world. When it comes to my own experience, I've been to quite a few countries documenting voluntary work. I've been to Thailand, Belarus, Nepal, and Ukraine. I was supposed to go to Madagascar back in 2019, but I got sick on the day of travel, so I had to do the voluntary work from home digitally. And the same for this year, where we were supposed to go to Ethiopia, but considering the world situation and the pandemic, it didn't go as planned. So when it comes to voluntary work abroad, there are a few things to prepare yourself for and a certain mindset to have. First of all, it's important to know that it is not a vacation, and this goes for both nationally and internationally. Working voluntary, it is not a vacation in any kind of way. You are there to do a job, and it's important to remember. Of course, you are supposed to have fun and learn a lot along the way, but you are there to make a change and a difference. So it is not all just fun and pleasure. There are long days and a lot to be done. You should really prepare yourself for a kind of reality check, at least if it is your first time doing voluntary work. You get a lot of insights, you meet a lot of people, and get a lot of stories, people's life stories, incidences, happenings, and it can hit you like a wrecking ball, as Miley Cyrus sang. At least it hit me really hard. I remember going to Bangkok, which was my first voluntary work travel. Went to the slum of Bangkok, and I was there I had already been there for 2 days, documenting, working, being around people, and seeing a lot of things, having a lot of impressions. And I was thinking oh, well, this is great. This is what I kind of expected. This is okay. And then I finally got to sit down and edit some of the content I had been creating on the second evening, and it just hit me. Straight out of nowhere, I just started bawling. I just started crying, and it was a total breakdown. So in my case, it didn't hit me like the reality check. It didn't hit me right away. It took 2 days. And then I was just bawling my eyes out, crying my parents, being I don't know if I can do this. And they were back in Norway, and it was chaotic. And one thing I would recommend when you get this reality check is to document it, either by video or writing or through social media, just making a Snapchat, I don't know. Mainly for yourself to see your improvement as a human being and your development, but also to remember that moment where you realize that the world may not be exactly what you expected it to be. And as I said, broke down, and I called my parents back in Norway. And after crying on the phone to them for about I don't know, half an hour or something, my mother asked me if I was recording. And I was no, why would I do that? I'm crying. And she just told me, Ellen, you have to hang up the phone put up a camera and record yourself because that's what you do best. And that is true. Because I'm an influencer and I started off with YouTube, that is what I do the best. I make content and I talk to a camera. So I hung up and I put up a camera and sat out in the hallway in the hotel that we were staying at in Bangkok and bawled my eyes out on camera. Here's a part of that video. It's 3 minutes long, like the total video, but I'm just going to show you a little bit under a minute. It is called I Can't Do This Anymore in Norwegian, and I have texted it, like put on subtitles in English so you can understand what I'm saying. And this is a part of my reality check.
Så jeg har akkurat grått over telefon til foreldrene mine i nesten 13 minutter, fordi jeg satt og redigerte vloggen for mandagen og tirsdagen, og det er først nå det har gått opp for meg. Nå det har gått opp for meg hvor urettferdig verden er, og hvor urettferdig det er for de små barna som ikke har valgt det livet her, men som bare har blitt født inn i det, inn i fattigdom og urettferdighet, og vokser opp i det, og mange av dem forblir i det, og det er en ond sirkel og Jeg synes så synd på dem, og jeg synes ikke det er rettferdig, og jeg synes det er helt forferdelig at vi faktisk ikke gjør noe med det.
Not my best look, but it was real, honest, and raw, which in a lot of situations is not the thing on social media. But I ended up posting this video while I was still down in Thailand, documenting the voluntary work, and it got incredible response. I was just basically talking about how I thought it was unfair, and basically just documenting my reality check. And it got so much engagement that it got more than 100,000 views. And it also got used in all the promos for the collection that year, like the fundraising. And it still is. 3 years later, they still use this video in their promos. So that is really fun, a bit awkward, but really fun. And I think one of the main reasons why it got so much engagement and is one of those videos that they keep on reusing is because it is raw and honest, and it makes people feel something. It kind of makes people feel what I am feeling. And that is really important when you do voluntary work and you document it. You have to make people feel something. And I would for sure recommend that you document everything in general, either through photography, videography, text, and social media, directly on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even, whatever. Document as much as you can of your own experience, others' experience, situations, happenings, everything you can. Let people see what is going on, preferably live while it's actually happening. And I would also recommend focusing on storytelling. So the people you meet there where you are doing the voluntary work, whether it's voluntary workers or the people that are getting the help, receiving the help and the benefits of the work being done, focus on storytelling, telling their life histories and situations and experiences. It's just really important to remember that when you're doing this, you are not only speaking for yourself, but for everyone you portray. These are people, children, grown-ups, elderly. They are humans just like you and me. And when you document who they are, try to portray them in a way that you would like to be portrayed if they were to document you. So when I do this, I focus a lot on faces. Faces, places, and general situations. I still remember all of the names of these people that I have photographed while being around the world. These 3 pictures are from a mountain village in Nepal. And I don't know, I feel like it makes people feel like they are getting closer on the person. And that is so important. You have to make the people down there feel human, to everyone else that you are showing the content to. I also focus a lot on relations to one another, families, girlfriends, boyfriends, sisters, brothers, whatever, even strangers who are just coming together for something. I focus a lot on that and actually documenting these people and showing them where they are the most comfortable, like in their homes or in their backyard or at school, whatever, where they are the most comfortable and natural. I have spent a lot of time with kids, and one of the things that have impressed me the most is that they are almost never sad. They are always happy, so I try to portray them from a positive perspective, because even in the worst situations, there are happiness to be found. This picture was taken in Nepal. We were documenting voluntary work at a hospital in a mountain village 8 miles from Mount Everest. And this baby was born, it's a newborn. And the mother of this baby, she gave birth out on the concrete, in the middle of the day, just in the middle of the, out on the concrete. And it just happened. And if it weren't for the doctors who were working there voluntarily, we are not sure if the mother would have survived, but because of the doctors, it was a good situation and it was safe, and there was a new life being brought into the world. So I focus a lot on happiness when I try to do storytelling. When it comes to my first travel and my first experience, I was in Islamabad, Bangkok, as I mentioned earlier, and I expected people to be so much, I expected it to be so much sadness and happiness. But when I got down there, it was like everyone was just happy, welcoming, friendly, and open, and they were kind, like truly kind. And this was people living in the middle of a slum with nothing, and their homes were tinier than mine, like my bathroom. And these families shared one mattress, big families, and it was insane. But they were still so positive and kind to everyone and everything. And I think that a lot of the reason why I expected it to be so much sadness and unhappiness was because of the fundraising commercials on television. A lot of these fundraising commercials are terrible. At least in my opinion, they are terrible, because they plays with your emotions, but not in a good way that makes you donate because you just want to donate and help. They guilt trip you. I remember specifically one commercial going around here in Norway a while back about malaria and the malaria vaccine in Africa somewhere. And I just remember these images of crying babies, crying parents, everyone just crying, it being so sad. All colors were cold. And I remember sitting with a feeling of guilt for not donating. And I think that's really unethical and something I would not recommend when it comes to fundraising in general. It's okay to play with people's emotions, but I think it's really unethical to play with their bad emotions and actually guilt tripping people into donating. And it is really unstrategical as well. If you kind of force people to donate by guilt tripping them, they will only donate that one time because they want to get rid of their guilt. But if you show them the positive outcome, it will actually make them become regular donators, because they want to see the change and they get to see the change. And that is what I focus on for the most part. As I told you earlier, I focus a lot on happiness and trying to give people positive and good emotions, feelings of the things that I portray and document. Of course, we have the crying video that you watched, but that is an exception. That is the only sad video I've actually made about all the voluntary work I've been documenting. This is more of the content that I actually create, and this is from Nepal.
Every word we let go, for every win we lost, and for every light was a storm, for every part we puzzled in. We let it thrive, let it grow, like a stone in our chest. It's bittersweet, I know. Just let it out and let it go. Let it out, 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 let it out.
So here we were out walking in the mountains of Nepal around this mountain village that we were living in, and we were documenting voluntary work at a hospital. And of course, here I could have focused on the people being sick and hurt at the hospital, needing operations and medications that they didn't have. But instead, we chose to focus on families and children being happy because of the hospital, because they are now safe. When they need help, they can get the help they need at this hospital. If they break a leg, they can get help at that hospital fixing their leg. Parents doesn't die because of snake bite poisoning, which was a really big problem prior, before the hospital came. So we have been trying to focus a lot more on the positive emotions and showing what we can prevent by fundraising and voluntary work. Because why focus on the sad current when you can focus on the good change? That is what me and my team focuses on. We focus on the good feelings and the good situations, because we don't see any value in guilt tripping people. And as I said, it won't fund that much money. It is better to actually give people feelings of that what they donate will make a positive change and a positive outcome that makes people live long, healthy lives that are good and safe and happy. Because we all want to be happy, right? So we focus a lot on the good things. And here it's just a joke. Here it's just a goat because it is adorable. And we also have the children from Nepal and this Down syndrome. When we were in the capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, we visited a school for people with disabilities and specifically Down syndrome as well. A lot of Down syndrome people. And we could have chosen to focus on the fact that these Down syndrome people normally get stored away in dark rooms, not being fed, not getting water or love, just because they are a shame to the parents. It is just really a shame to have a children with a disability in Nepal. But instead we chose to focus on the fact that this school changes lives, because the Down syndrome and general disabled people get to have a place to come to, where they get food, showers, water, care, love. They learn things, they learn to speak, to communicate, and to have a somewhat normal life, which is something that didn't happen before they had the school. So we chose to focus on that, on the positive outcome instead of the sad current. And that is really important. We focus on happiness. Then over to how to use social media to contribute and fund voluntary work, because yes, you will have to focus, or at least I would recommend that you focus on social media, focus on happiness when you are trying to fund voluntary work. But there are a lot more factors to actually fund money and contribute. First of all, you have to talk about it. You have to communicate and let people know what is going on around the world and how voluntary work can help, what difference it can make. You also have to document it through photos, videos, text, whatever. Let people see it. We, like humans, we are a very visual creature. We need to see things to understand it in most cases, at least my generation and yours, I guess. So document it and show it. Talk about it, document it, and show it, because people have to see it to understand it and know it. Also, you have to make people feel it in a good way, as I've been talking about through this entire presentation. It is so important to make people feel what you are feeling in a current situation. They have to feel like they get to know the people you're portraying, and that they're almost there in that situation that you are showing. They have to feel it in their hearts in a good way, not guilt trip people, but make them feel like a warmth. I don't know, make them feel like they care, make them care, basically. And also you should inform them how their donation helps. It is super important to make people understand what their money can do. Most people like money, and especially if it's your own, you keep it pretty close to your chest. You don't really want to share it because, well, you need money as well. We all need money. And if they don't even know what their money is being used for, it is really hard to make people just give money out of nowhere. But if you let them know exactly what their donation will do, they are more likely to donate. So what we have been doing these previous years when funding and collecting money is to actually tell people specifically, when you donate, you press this link or swipe up or whatever, and you donate through that link, it goes specifically to this project. Nothing administrative, just the project. So when we were in the slum of Bangkok, it went to a kindergarten in the slum, and we let everybody know that every single Norwegian krone is going to this project, nothing else. And it did, and we managed to collect 150,000 Norwegian kroner, which is 15,000 euros, I think, ish. Maths. Anyways, that was enough to improve the kindergarten and make more children come, which helps them to continue from kindergarten to school and then out of the slum. So it's a way to end poverty. When it was in Nepal, in the mountain village, at the hospital, we let people know that all of these monies, all of the monies that you are donating will go directly to the hospital and medication and equipment. And it did. And we have documentation of that. We have secure documentation, so we can actually prove that all of the money went to what we let people know that it went to. And that is really important. The more specific you can be, the better it is, and the better the chance for people to donate. We've also used a lot of influencers when it comes to fundraising. I'm an influencer, and I work with a lot of influencers, and it has been a really big thing for the last couple of years. Basically because influencers are so-called social media gods. They already have a following, which is great. They know how to reach their followers in a good way. They know how to communicate with them. They know their followers the best. And that is really important because they also have a lot more credibility than a company, a big company or an NGO. These are individuals. The influencers are people, and they are talking to the people, which makes it a lot easier for people to donate if there is a person letting other people know what is going on around the world and how they can make a change. They are also great at creating content, which is important when you're doing voluntary work, to actually get out content and make people understand what is going on. So yeah, these influencers have been collaborating for the last years with NGOs and bigger companies to come together and fund money for voluntary work through this event called Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday is basically the opposite of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, which is quite relevant right now. And it is basically a mindset of giving instead of spending. It is an international movement that already is big abroad, like in other countries like America and Australia and that kind of stuff. Maybe you even have it in Slovakia, but it started back in Norway in 2017. And it has just grown bigger and bigger and bigger. There are more and more influencers collaborating with NGOs and companies to make a change. And there is everything from voluntary organizations, bigger companies, and some of the biggest ones here in Norway, which is great because the more people that come together, the more people will know about it and the more people will be able to help. When it comes to voluntary work during the pandemic, which is also a part of this fundraising thing, and Giving Tuesday, last but not least, at least here in Norway, we are going live with Giving Tuesday here in Norway at the 1st of December. That is like the date. And we were supposed to go to Ethiopia this year to collect money for the voluntary organization. But because of the pandemic, we weren't able to go, so we had to think new, think digitally. So we are still making content and promoting the voluntary work being done in Ethiopia, in Bangkok, in Nepal, whatever, everywhere. We are still promoting it, but by reusing old content, talking about prior experiences, and last but not least, working together. Previously, a lot of influencers and individual people have been working individually. They have all been collaborating with the NGO or the voluntary organization, but individually. So I would make my own video, another influencer would make her video, a private person would make his video, whatever, or post a picture or whatever. But now we are all coming together and working more as a team. So here are some of the people contributing to this year's Giving Tuesday for one of the voluntary organizations. And these are 4 of the influencers that are joining the team. One of them is me, up in the right corner. Then we have Trina in the bottom row and Christine at the bottom row. And then we have Martin at the upper row. The other 4 people are private persons who are contributing as well, and we have been working a little bit with them, but mainly with the other influencers. So what we have been doing is we have created a fundraising page called through like this service called Splice. So instead of collecting separately, like my followers will donate to my fundraising site, and then Martin's followers will go and fund his fundraising site. We are now coming together, all 4 influencers, and collecting to the same site. So all followers are going to the same site, and then we have different causes on that site. So me and Martin, we are collecting to Bangkok, and Trina and Christine are collecting to Madagascar. So our followers can choose what cause they want to donate money to. That is up to them, but they still have to go into the same page. And what we are hoping for is that when they go and donate to one of the 2 causes, they decide to donate to the other one as well, because they read the text, they see the videos that we have put up there, and they feel like they want to help both causes. And so far it looks pretty great. It seems like it's working, which is amazing. And we are keeping our fingers crossed that it will work out, and perhaps we can go and travel abroad and document what the money have helped change or improve in the future, perhaps next year or whenever the pandemic is somewhat over. In the prior years, we have collected around 15,000 euros every year, and we are hoping to do that this year as well. So yeah, to give you a short summary, first of all, remember that voluntary work should be treated like a job, but you should also remember to have fun. just not too much fun. So you can go on a shopping trip if you are in a big city, or you can go eat at a better place, like a more fancy place if you would like, but don't let the pleasure part of it take over from the work part of it, because you are there to make a difference. Remember to prepare for your reality check if it is your first time working with voluntary work, because it's gonna happen in some way or another. Maybe not a total breakdown like I had, but yeah, you will get a reality check. Everyone I've talked with, they've said that they've had a reality check at some point. Don't forget to document as much as you can through photos, videos, text, social media. What do they say? Like, if it isn't on Instagram, it didn't happen. It's kind of that. Let people see it. Focus on storytelling and the good change. Let them know the positive outcome and the good that is being done. Let people be there with you through what you are showing and telling. And do not guilt trip. Do not be like those bigger organizations that guilt trip people, because it won't help in the long run. Consider contributing to Giving Tuesday. If you have it over there, then join in. And if you don't, consider maybe starting a tiny little movement and your own Giving Tuesday funding. I don't know. And last but not least, work together for the greater good. Yeah, you may be good on your own, but if you come together as a team, it will for sure work better. So yeah, that was everything. Thank you for listening. And here is some contact information if you would like to know more or ask me any questions. You're more than welcome to send a mail or contact me through social media, preferably Instagram. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time and for this kind of presentation. I would like to ask my students if they have any questions, so they can ask you right now. Also to our friend Mette, who is on the red shirt here. He's our friend, our partner in this project. And at the beginning, I have a question for you. You were talking a lot about these reality shocks. This happened only on the first trip, but also it happened always when it comes to new places and documenting new stuff?
No, for me, it really happened only on the first trip. And I think that was because, you know, we are privileged a lot, at least a lot more privileged than a lot of other people around the world. And you can imagine what it is like to be there and actually live in it. And of course, for them, that is normal. Like living in the slum of Bangkok, that is normal for the people living there. But for me, that was something I had never known or experienced before. So I didn't really know what to experience. And of course, I could try and prepare myself for what would happen and what it would be like. But it is so far away. You can't understand it because it's so hard to grasp and understand. So when you suddenly stand in the middle of it, it just hits you. But it only happened that one time, because after that, I knew a bit more about what I was going to experience. So you kind of learn how to cope with it.
Okay. My students, any questions? You can raise your hand or just ask or text the message in Slovak language. I will translate for you if you hesitate. It's okay. We are not all perfect. We are not the native speakers, so don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to ask questions. But I have another question, since my students will maybe type something or ask something. In Slovakia, we have problems with the volunteers, that organizations don't trust volunteers a lot. Do you have also this kind of bad story with volunteers?
What do you mean then?
That the organization don't trust volunteers a lot. That they are maybe not giving them too much opportunities to work by themselves. If you had a bad story with you or with your volunteers around you, I don't know, that you came to another organization and they were like, okay, you are just a volunteer, so I don't know, clean the dishes, and that's it.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with organizations perhaps having a lot of bad experiences with certain types of volunteers, because a lot of people go in with the mentality of it being like a free travel, or something that you pay a little bit of money and you get to stay somewhere for free, you get food, and yeah, you may have to work a little bit and then you can just go enjoy a vacation. Which is why I made it a point to let people know that it is not a vacation. You are there to work. And that is really difficult. And it's scary when you're sending a volunteer abroad, because you don't really know what they will do in that situation. What I've experienced is that a lot of voluntary organizations here in Norway have become a lot more strict on choosing their volunteers. And if they don't choose them, the volunteers actually have to pay a lot more to travel and do the work. But about like washing dishes and being really strict, yeah, it may be boring, but it is actually pretty important. I remember we had a day where we just painted in the kindergarten. That was all we did. We were painting in the kindergarten. And it was not my favorite thing to do, but the kids were happy and it was really important. It needed to be done. So yeah, even the slightest contribution when it comes to like manpower, it is important.
Okay, thank you. And like, what's your favorite vacation? What you are doing at the free time? Are we traveling, or we are not
visited Cambodia, an island, and I saw there like many people volunteering and spending time with the community, and I really enjoyed the community, so I decided to go there, but I still didn't have time because of the university, so maybe one time.
I get that. It seems like I've never gone to university. I just run my own company and live well with that. But I get that university and studying and all of that takes a lot of time and strength, last but not least, both mentally and physically. Like, I think that you can even do voluntary work at your own university, some places. And it doesn't always have to be like where you make a big change in the world, but you can make a change for just a few persons. Here in Norway, we have a lot of activities to engage the youth and the students or whatever. It doesn't matter what age you are, and like social get-togethers and happenings, and that is also a kind of voluntary work. Creating events and happenings for the youth, for those your own age, in your own city, at your own university. So that may be a tips for how you can do more voluntary work and start small where you are.
Any questions, students? Anna Liptáková?
Anna, môžem sa opýtať, Ellen, what was your first impulse to go and do the voluntary work?
Like, what was my idea, or like why I wanted to do it, or how you can do it?
What was your idea?
Well, basically, I got asked by a voluntary organization called NMS. They were going down to the slum of Bangkok, and it was for the first Giving Tuesday of that year. My mother and I remember, like, when I was younger, we would sit at home and actually like make packages for Christmas to send to Belarus and Ukraine. So I've been a lot involved in that kind of voluntary work. So I've known a little bit about it in general, but not in Asia, never in Asia. So I was a bit scared to say yes, but I did say yes because of the way this organization told me that it could be a good thing. As an influencer and a person in general, I want to make a change. Whether it's big or small, it doesn't matter, but I want to make a change and make other people do the same. So that was the main reason why I agreed on going down to Bangkok and doing that first voluntary work for that organization, because I wanted to make a change, basically, and that was also my idea. I wanted to affect other people and impact them and then make them do the same, because at least here in Norway, my generation is really ego. We care a lot for ourselves, and that is really important as well, but we kind of shut the whole world out. We don't want to hear any bad news anymore. We just want to live. And I think that's a really bad mentality, because we have to care about the world around us because we are so privileged. So why not give someone else some of that privilege in any kind of way? So that was basically my idea.
So there is not a lot of youngsters in Norway who are doing the voluntary job? Or it's not that common in Norway to do voluntary job?
We are very good at like doing voluntary work, work for our own society, like other Norwegians in our own city, or that kind of stuff. Really good at that. But I think we want to care, but it is so far away that we can't really understand it. And there's so many situations all over the world that is so hard to grasp. And there's a lot of focus on like children of war and war like in Syria and that kind of stuff. And that is really important to focus on. But it also makes us forget all the other places that are struggling as well, which I think is really important. And I think that a lot of the younger people and the younger generations here in Norway would like to do more voluntary work abroad, but it is just so much going on already here in Norway that it's hard to understand how to do it. And the organizations are absolutely not good enough at informing of how you can do voluntary work. And because of them having like really strict rules on how to actually join the voluntary program, and it is quite expensive, a lot of people choose to not do it as well.
Any other questions? If not, I remember that you talked about the girl with the Down syndrome in Nepal. Was it common in Nepal that there were too many people with disabilities with Down syndrome?
It is not necessarily like, it is like a normal percentage as everywhere else in the world, basically. But for instance, here in Norway, when a person has Down syndrome, they are still welcome in the society. We include them in the society and we make it possible for them to go to school, a special school, and get a job and live a normal life somewhat. But in Nepal, they stored these people with disabilities, they just stored them away. They were like, the family were ashamed of having a child with disabilities because of their cultural mindset. It was kind of like a curse. If you got a child with a disability, it was because you deserved it, and it was a curse because of what you had done. So a lot of people just hid those children with disabilities away in dark rooms and kind of just hope they would die. So the voluntary work at that school was basically to make the parents accept their children, or at least let them have a somewhat normal life.
Did you meet with something like this also in other countries, that people were like hiding their disabled kids?
I've seen it in both Ukraine and Belarus as well. I didn't see it in the slum of Bangkok. There was just more child prostitution and that kind of stuff, which is not good. But it was different problems and different things to be ashamed over. But what is like seen repeat itself in every single country and every single place that I've documented voluntary work in is that they all kind of try to hide that they are poor for the general public. They try to hide it as much as they can. And it is first when you actually come home to them that you get to see how little money they actually have. But a lot of them can actually seem pretty wealthy when they walk around, considering like where they live and all of that, and what is considered wealthy there. And then they actually don't really have anything. So yeah, they're good at creating an image.
Okay. Any questions, students? If not, I have, I hope, last question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I hope I'm still running my own company, and I hope I have made enough money to be able to do some more voluntary work, because that is something that really means a lot to me and gives me a lot. I don't know. I think one thing that is really important to let people know is that when you do voluntary work and you help others, you also help yourself. And that may sound egoistic, but it is just a fact. Everyone I've talked to, they're saying that, yeah, when I help others, I feel better with myself as well. And that is not an egoistic thing, although it may sound like it, as long as you go down there with the thought of helping others and not helping others for helping yourself. It is just like a byproduct of everything. But it's a good feeling. And it is good to feel like you're making a change. So I hope I can do that, and I hope I'm married and have a kid or two and a dog. So yeah.
Oh, wow, wow, okay. Fingers crossed. And I hope maybe we will meet somewhere in 10 years and you will be married and have a dog and also the kid. But okay, maybe really like the last. What would you advise to young people to do, or give them some advice or something?
In general?
Yes,
Or,
in general, to young people.
I think
Maybe some motivational speech, like the last sentence, last dot in your speech.
last famous words. I think I would just recommend you to do something that provides you happiness. Find that thing that you have a passion for, whether it being voluntary work or studying to be a lawyer or whatever. Maybe it's just eating good food, I don't know. Do something that makes you happy and do that as much as you can. Because when you are happy, you affect the people around you with the same kind of feeling, and it is a ball that just keeps on rolling.
Thank you very much for your time, both of you. Mette, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you any questions. Am I? Maybe? Okay, dear students, thank you very much, Ellen and Mette, for coming. Mette, we are going to see each other in 2 weeks in another meeting like this with Paula, also another volunteer of yours. Thank you very much for coming. And
thank you all of you for this session and this opportunity. It was also good for us to meet you. So
I'm so happy that there is a pandemic, so we can travel, but already I felt that I'm in Norway with you. So thank you very much and have a nice day. See you soon.